Hi, everybody. This is Donna Reed, and I traveled in Up with People 1976. And I have quit saying, look at, I'm wearing my shirt today. I just have to show you. So, um, I I have quit saying that I'm in Castay because I'm trying to just make us all united here. So Dale Penny is my guest this morning. Thank you, Dale, for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, great to see you, Donna.
Good to see you. And you have a long history with Up with
You might say that, yeah.
say that like any specific way, just that tell everybody when you first traveled and Up with People, and where did you live when you either saw a show or how did you learn about it?
Well, I actually got to meet Up with People as a sponsor.
Oh,
I was at my university. My friend Ken Johnson and I were uh, head of the entertainment committee for the university when I was an undergraduate there. I was a senior at the university, and a scheduler from this thing called Up with People came by and said that they needed a stopover. They had a booking in one weekend and another one another, and we were halfway in between. And would they like us? So we had just spent our entire entertainment budget on booking the Fifth Dimension and the Carpenters. So it was
oh,
over. So I asked what what the fee would be, and they said if we could find housing and a place to perform, that was it. I said, done.
we can
That's
do
it.
that. Where did
That's
you go
it.
to college, Dale?
Is university as part of the Texas A&M system. Back then it was called East Texas State University. Now it's Texas A&M University Commerce. So,
Commerce. So you were from Commerce, Texas. Okay.
right.
I'm pretty sure that that was one of the many places we hit in Texas when I was traveling.
Actually, I'm from a little town called Forney, Texas, which was we actually did that too at one point. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Okay.
I'm sure you've heard of the Forney Jackrabbits. Yeah, great football team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm like picking my basketball teams based on the color of their uniforms.
That's right.
Don't know anything. All right. So what year was that, Dale?
That was 1971.
71. And so then they come, they do their thing. And did you just say, gosh, I'm going to graduate from college. I might want to do this?
Yeah, my I had always wanted to be a teacher, and I was about to graduate, and had um, a school that was going to hire me to be a social studies teacher and a football coach,
Yeah.
and as every good Texas boy wants to be, as a football coach. And so I think when I met the cast, met the PR team that came in ahead of time, and then the cast, and got to know them, I realized that I was trying to go out and teach young people about the world, about social studies, and I really knew very little about the world. I knew very little about uh, anything except growing up in Northeast Texas. And so I thought this is something I really need to do for me and for anybody that I'm going to teach. And so that's what attracted me to, and the show, of course, it really spoke to me. So that was why I got started.
So was that then you jump on the bus time, or was that the interview and then you had tuition like it did a few years later when I joined?
Yeah, it was during the sort of the crossover time. I think the year before in 70 was the first year they stopped just jumping on the bus. And so we actually, all of the cast that year in 71 started in different places. My cast A started in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and cast B was in Warwick, New York. And so that was the time when you start. There was a start and there was an end, and
As
we paid a
compared to just the
tuition.
ongoing, we might be on the bus thing.
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah.
that was first or second year that they ended that. And so the tuition was $64 a month, payable monthly. So Right, I think you got a little discount if you paid the whole semester or the
And
year
gas was
ahead of
like
time.
25 cents a gallon, right?
That's right, that's right.
Oh my
So
gosh.
anyway, that's and
That's how
so
you
I
started.
and we started in Jackson Hole.
So did you travel? I've interviewed several people from UMA. There was this huge like 1971 group from UNA, the Bob Huff and Ron Beckett and that group. So were they with you during part of this?
Yeah,
These guys?
yeah, we had two of the humans, as
Humans?
they called themselves, in our cast, or three, I guess, and then Ron was in the other cast, Cast B, and
Okay.
with a number of other, and Bob traveled the next year, started the next
Okay.
year.
Okay. And so in Jackson Hole at that time, was the Soest family already helping back then?
Yeah, it was because of the Soest family that we were in Jackson Hole, and
Okay.
they were terrific. They provided they got the housing for us and got the um, I think it's the junior high uh, school to open themselves up in at end of August, sort of the during August before school started, and that was our place where we launched. And then we were there for 2 weeks, and then went to Billings, Montana, for the
Okay.
second 2 weeks of
Ah,
staging. So I
interesting.
think,
That was when Jackson Hole was just beginning to get millionaires before billionaires were there.
right, yeah,
Back when you
yeah.
might be able to afford to live there.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place,
Oh,
and
yeah.
my
Yeah.
host family was out in by the park, the national park there,
Oh, nice.
and in Moose, actually, it was a
Yeah.
little town outside of
Yeah.
Jackson Hole. Yeah,
So interesting little story about the Soasts. And there's going to be, everybody that traveled from a certain time on aren't going to know who they are. But Mrs. Soast was Donna Marie Soast, and I
right,
was Donna Marie Seaman. And they ended up having a house down here in Sonoyta, which you
right.
may have known. And I walked into an art shop in 2002 or three, and there were cards there, and they were signed. And I remember looking at one and going to the desk and saying, "Does Donna Soest live in Sonoyta?" It was just, and then I stopped to see her and Hugh on the way, and it was really, really wonderful. I always loved them and stuff.
Yeah,
So
they were just terrific, and brought Cass back there to Jackson Hole a couple of times
many,
after,
yeah,
yeah, many
yeah,
times after that,
yeah.
and we unfortunately we lost both of them in the last couple of
Last few
years.
years.
So
Yeah,
right,
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward to when I traveled, and we're just going to skip everything from
okay, there you go. That's
71 to
it.
76, because clearly you were there, you did staff. Because when I saw a show, it was in Fremont, Ohio, and it was during the bicentennial. And that was, you were the cast manager, director, I don't know
Cast
what they call
director,
it,
yeah,
cast
that
director
was
at
my
that point.
Cast C, yeah.
Cast the, and you were, you guys had taken those groups 150 and we're doing that. I spent a week there one day in Toledo, Ohio. I always think about you
Oh.
because you guys spent so much time in Ohio, but I truly would have never seen a show if it hadn't been the bicentennial and you hadn't divided up. How old were you then as a cast director? Were you like,
I was a sage at 24. So
see, when I hear that, isn't it wild to think that, Dale? It's wild to think that what we did.
yeah, I think it was probably crazy for Blanton and Jim McLennan and Jack Hips and the whole crowd that and the Colwells
Yep.
to do that, but they really had no choice. I mean, it
Right.
was. I don't know that it was any brilliance on their part. Is that the way we had to work? They had to just really trust
Mhm.
young people
Yeah.
to make it work. And I think it really was part of the success
Yeah.
of Up With People, because you trusted young adults um,
Make decisions.
to run an operation like that, and really nobody else was doing that back then. So there was no other. It was sort of a crazy thing to take um, that many young people out together and another small group of young people in charge of them and
Yeah.
make it work. And so, you know, we
Yeah.
made mistakes and we didn't do it all right, but it was a success. And I think it was that that was one key to the success, and the other was the host family.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Having a host family, and I think again, I don't think they had any choice. They didn't have enough money to
Yeah.
put people up in dorms or hostels or anything. So but the host family, so the young people giving them a responsibility and trusting them, and
The host
and
family's
living
opening
with
up.
host families for that exchange and that learning and growth. I
Yeah.
think those were two of the keys to making Up With People work.
Yeah. I a few years ago I found my diary from those years, and I literally was a Navy ROTC finalist. And then it was fall of 75. And we ended up hosting Scott DuPay and Sherry. They did PR there, Sherry Mielhouse,
Oh, well,
now,
yeah.
and now Roach. And I never wrote about the Navy again. It just became Up With People. And in hindsight, my siblings tell me you would have been awful in the military. You don't follow rules here. In bad at that. And Dale, I just have to say you were my second interview, and I may have told you this through the years, but Bruce Harris, rest in peace, interviewed me. And they asked what languages we spoke. And I jokingly said, well, I've had 3 years of high school German, but 18 years of English. And he went, American, my dear. Not English. I was like, who are you? Yeah.
True.
Such fun. So how many years after that did you continue to work for Up With People? After that would have been 76 when
Yeah, I continued until 1995. So I was
wow.
basically with Up With People for 24 years before I left in
And what
1995.
were the jobs that you morphed through?
Uh, well, well, I was on the road. I was a cast director for 3.5 years. Um, I was on the road staff for 5.5 years, and
Okay.
cast director for 3.5, and then I moved to the office and worked with Jim McLennan as managing all the 5 casts, and so I was the director of cast operations, I guess, and up through the 80s, and then I also worked and helped develop the educational curriculum through the 70s and 80s. And then in 93, Blanton stepped aside to chairman emeritus, and Steve Woods was asked to be the chairman and the CEO, and I was president and chief operating officer.
Okay.
And then in 95, I left, and then I ran another nonprofit until 2014. So
Okay. So, were you then part of the transition to Denver? Had you moved to Denver with Up With People? Because I can't remember what year
yeah,
they moved up there.
Okay. Yeah, we actually moved up in 93.
93.
So
okay.
Yeah, we had the 25th anniversary
In Vail.
No, the 25th anniversary was in Denver in 1990.
I think I was there. Shows you what I remember.
Yeah. And then after that, the governor of Colorado asked Pete Coors and some other of the business people to try to attract Up With People to move up there. And so in 90, the decision was made in 92, and the move was made in 93 to Denver.
Denver.
Yeah, and we built the new office up there.
It was such a beautiful place. Gosh. So when did you meet Mindy?
in 75. When I was the director of Cast C that year, the bicentennial year. And
was she in Cast C?
No, well, she started in December and December on the PR staff. She never traveled as a cast member, but she just came on as a PR staff member, and then worked largely with Cast C in the spring, in January through the rest of the year with as on the
Okay.
PR staff.
Okay. And then when Tracy traveled, did she do the same? Did she travel with a cast or did she do?
No, she started as a cast member. Yeah.
Okay, because I remember her, but again, there were so many. She wasn't in my cast, but I remember,
right.
Tracy, I've seen her a couple times through the years. So.
Right. And she was started in the next year in 76 as a cast member. And then she moved into the promotion and scheduling
Okay.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have 2 boys, is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
2 sons. And David's one, right?
Dave is our older one, and he actually worked traveled with Up With People in 2008
8 or 9, somewhere along in
eight
there.
or nine, something like that. And then he became a cast manager for 3 years, and then worked in the office before then he moved on to become a teacher. And our son Alex traveled one semester with the cast, and again I can't remember, it's probably 2011 or something like that.
It's hard enough to remember when they're born, let alone
That's
when.
right. That's right. And now he's a firefighter in Denver, and
So both
Dave
of the
is a
boys are in
teacher.
the Denver area, right?
They're in the Denver area.
Okay.
Both live there, and
Okay.
so
Yeah. I
so
know that
we're lucky to have all of us sort of in the same area.
It's interesting to I think of Tucson as this kind of retirement area for the older generation, but clearly my son hangs out with almost all alumni in Denver.
Right.
So all those kids that were there. So I know that that's how he has met David. I don't know if he knows.
Yeah, there's a great community of young alumni in Denver that are, and it really is a great community of young adults and just terrific people. So
yeah. Caleb's fiance did not travel, so it's like it's the learning and the breaking in and her like knocking herself on the head when they can be in the middle of a Dungeons and Dragons game and then flash back to what they did in Sweden or something.
Right.
How can this relate? Okay, so you left in 95 and you took a job and you moved back east, correct?
Yeah, we moved to Vermont, and
and what was that organization?
That was called the Student Conservation Association, and it's the oldest youth conservation corps and the largest one in the United States. And in fact, our founder really started youth corps, which are college and high school students that work in national parks and city parks and all over the country. So that was wonderful. I had just a great experience doing that, because again, it was young people, high school students and college students, doing service to the land, to conserve our land, but growing and developing themselves as they did it. I mean, so it's in many ways it's very similar to the value of Up With People, the values of Up With People and SCA. So I feel like in some ways I spent my entire career
not coaching football,
giving young people the opportunity to give back and serve and develop who they are. And I feel very lucky to have been able to do that for my entire career.
It's interesting to think, that what you graduated from college with, and then how life changes and evolves, and the path that exists. I have a young man that's helping me in real estate, and he goes, I can't imagine myself at 64. And I'm like, no, you can't. You can have all the plans in the world, and then life will, take you. So when did you make the decision to come back to Up With People as the CEO, and how did that evolve?
Well, I was on the board of Up With People during I think probably 2008 to 2014, and I retired from SCA in 2014, and they I gave them a year to replace me. And so during that year, Alan left
You're
up as the CEO of Up with People. And after doing a search, the board asked if I would step in an interim role. And so I actually, rather than retiring to Denver, I retired from SCA, and 4 days later I was the CEO of Up with People.
so
And
much for
a week
retirement.
later I was in Cuba. Blanton and I went to Cuba to meet the people that were going to host the cast down there later in the fall in 2014. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
So as part of this, you know, I'm going to ask you the music and the food songs like I ask everybody, but
Right.
I tell me as we move into the future, and I know none of us really know exactly how things are going to go. I feel like I'm learning all the time about what the plans are.
Mm.
And I had somebody say the other day, "Oh, it's going to be world smart," and I'm like, I think it's kind of a mix, and you know, we don't know. Don't to me, that's like don't tag something until we
Right. Right.
we see how it goes. But you know, have you listened in and followed along to what Phil and Seema and those are presenting about the future?
Some, yeah, and I've had some meetings with Seema and Phil and to a little bit. I still, I'm still trying to uh, understand what exactly how it will work.
Yeah.
But so I do hope people will give it a chance because I think the reality is the model of Up with People that most of us remember
Yeah,
and
right.
participated in, um, it's not a viable model anymore. And I think that's something we have to accept. When Up
Right.
with People first started, it was, as I said before, it was unique. Nobody was doing it, and just the shows were uh, the quality was equal to a lot of traveling shows and things like that.
Good
That
point.
the experience, the cross cultural experience, was nobody was providing exactly what uh, Up with People was. I mean, Up with People as a cultural exchange, it was the only program that was taking all these young people from these different cultures, grouping them together to create a culture within
Mhm.
themselves, and then taking that and moving it around to different cultures.
Yeah.
That was totally unique. Um, Today, and I would say that worked really well through the 80s and into the 90s.
Right.
Um, it's today, from a performance standpoint, from a show standpoint, there's no way Up with People can put on the kind of high quality technical talent. I mean, everybody expects,
The
you know,
Super Bowl halftime, like
the
it was.
Super Bowl
Yeah.
half,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's just no way that can happen today. And from a cultural exchange and standpoint, there are literally hundreds of
Options.
universities and uh, nonprofits and that are so it's a tough world out there, and the model that we all know was fading, and it was fading when I came back Up with People. We knew that we had to make change, and so we
Mhm.
were looking for ways to evolve. And then when COVID came along and it had to shut down, I mean, that was really hard.
Oh,
I fell for Vernon. I
yeah.
retired just before that, and Vernon had to take that on. And I mean, that was a tough thing that he and the staff did there. But in the end, it was probably the only way to start fresh,
That's an
because
interesting thing. It's like a
you can't
forced
change.
pause. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, no, none of us would have just said, okay, let's stop for 2 years or 3 years and
Yeah.
rethink this.
Hmm.
Unless we had to. And so I'm not I'm not part of what SEMA and Phil and the staff and the board are doing right now. But I know they're rethinking it and trying to put something out that they think and they believe that will work in today's world. And I just hope all of the alumni will give it a chance. Don't say, well, if it doesn't have blah blah, it can't be up with people. Well, we've got to really rethink that. So
yeah, I agree. I've had conversations with a couple people recently, and those of us of our generation are in the
right.
But I think the people creating it are the same way. But
Right.
I feel like SEMA's strengths are tremendous, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And we, as you said, we have to accept that. Maybe I relate it to bell bottoms coming back in style. Maybe
Right.
they're going to be strumming 4 or 5 instruments in a gym, and that's going to be the music, and that's okay if that's what it is, right? Because
Right.
everything old is new again. So
Right.
I think about that. So, all right, from a traveling perspective, I know that you were part of this whole big group that just went to Africa.
Right.
Had you been there before? Had you ever?
No, we had Mindy and I had really wanted to go over the past few years, but we just didn't work out while I was working, and then during COVID. But it was great, and I would say there again, that's to me the fact that the people that are doing it, they didn't start it, but Hans Magnus and Tova and John and Ann Parker and Steve and Terry Woods and and others are on the board and helping keep the. And this was a very important thing. They're working with the Maasai to help keep the lands open and for migration of the animals. It's a great thing, and so it was really good. There were about 25 of us and as it turned out, almost everyone were alumni that went. That's not always the case.
No.
But it was fun. It was fun being there.
I talked to Cynthia Cochran yesterday, and she was in the week after you guys. So
right.
there, I guess a couple of John and Ann's children were there.
Family,
family of couples. So, Retta kept going, "Why are you going? Why are you going?" And I'm like, "Spent a month in France, and I'm having a new kitchen, and I just can't."
Well, I can recommend it. It really is a wonderful experience. Yeah.
All right, Dale, all the years, all the songs, you're not allowed to pick Rhodes or Moonrider, okay? What are some songs that you might periodically just hear in your head or that you think were super great songs?
Well, my first year, 71, that was the first year of Rhodes. But there's also a song in the show called "Carry It With You," and actually, it seems to have emerged somewhere. I've seen online people saw a movie where "Carry It With You" was, and it was a new kind of thought. I think Rhodes and "Carry It With You" were kind of a new thought. Up with People in the 60s certainly was not pro-war, but that was a time of great division, and there was the more conservative side, which I think Up with People was at that point.
At that point,
and then there were the peaceniks that were the other side, and
I love that.
Carry It With You was sort of a movement. Carry it with peace, carry it with you. You got to walk with it and talk with it and sleep with it and be with it. You got to carry peace with you. It's and so it was a move. Frank, I think, had a
Frank Field.
Frank Fields. He had a great idea there and that concept in that song. So that's just one. comes to mind.
I always
Yeah.
say at reunions, I always want to do the off the wall ones. I want to do like memorable tune and, you know, the, hey, I'll throw me the ball. I want to just do random
Right.
just to be different, you know, because we all have
Right.
different memories of the different songs. Tell me about, if you can incorporate this into the same thought, a country, a food, anything that you ate that you will never eat again, or anything that the Texas kid tried that he loved and now it's part of life forever, and or a country that maybe you haven't been to that you would love to go to.
Oh boy. Um, uh, well, there, I tell you, my first year, one of my host families in Montana served me bear, and and it's the only thing I've ever put in my mouth, a little bit in there, and as I chewed it, it just grew in my mouth. I could hardly eat it. So anyway, so I'm not going to eat. I'm not eating any more bears.
Not eat any more bear.
But I just I eat almost anything, and we went to China with the cast, and that was just great experience of eating. Um, the had the Peking duck meal, and we ate the entire duck during the meals and in several courses. But the hardest thing was the boiled duck feet. They came out, and that one also was tough to get down. But
So Jose Luis said, and I think it had to have been that same thing. He said that they ate like 1,000-year-old eggs or something that are supposed to be.
It's
and he was like,
yeah, we had those. They had 1,000-year-old eggs. Yeah, they take an egg and they bury it. They put it in a clay pot and they bury it for, not 1,000,
but whatever,
long enough for it to turn black.
Yeah.
It sort of cooks itself in there. So
Funny. And any countries or places that you haven't been that might still be on a bucket list?
Oh gosh. Yeah, some of the Asian countries, Thailand, I think would, Vietnam, I think that whole area, it would be interesting to go and see it today.
It's funny to think about what makes you self-conscious. I've always felt like I will be ahead above everybody else. You know, and do I want to be that person? And in 2015, right. Caleb and I
go to Africa with the Maasai, and you wouldn't be we wouldn't be the tallest.
That's true. That's true. I could hit up when in 2015 when a group of us did Midsummer up in Sweden. Caleb had gone with me, and we flew from Italy to Gothenburg, Göteborg, and we get on the plane. So it was predominantly Italians and Swedes.
Right.
And there was a couple, Caleb and I are a head taller than half of Italy. So there was a couple rosy-cheeked, tall Swedes with their child, and he looks at me and he goes, "Those are our people."
That's right.
Because, all right. So any parting words, Dale, that you'd like to share with the community?
Oh gosh. I think the thing I think about a lot is in today's world is that when we came together as a cast, we were all sort of, we didn't know each other. We signed up and we were put into this cast. We were all very different. We had different views, different races, different politics, different religions, and we could have, those casts could have exploded because of the differences.
Yeah.
But we didn't define ourselves by how different we are. We defined ourselves with what we had in common, what we shared, and what we wanted to accomplish. And I think about that sometimes in today's world where we are so divided and so, and we do we almost look for a way to divide ourselves. We look for the cues when we meet somebody to know if they're on our team or they're the
Ah,
other. And
right.
then we pull into our own, where now we live with in communities that are like us. We worship with communities that are like us. Our friendship, we go out, we make friends with people who are like us, and we don't. And I just think that we've got this big thousands of Up With People alumni who have the skill to not do that, to be a force, to not define ourselves by what divides us, but find a way to overcome that divider and define ourselves and build community on what we have in common. Anyway, I didn't mean to
You
get
know,
into a little thing there, but
yeah. No,
um,
I love that because I think you're right. And I think I said to you, I've told everyone, I don't want these interviews to become he said, she said, divisive or whatever. I think it's making people realize if they watch them that the kid that traveled in 2017 really has the same story that I do and
yeah,
comes from the same place. It makes me weepy to think
right,
about it because of all the divisiveness,
right.
that exists. So, well, thank you much. I am going to stop the recording. I will let you know. I've got one other one before you, and
Okay,
I'll let you know when I make it live in the Cactus
great.
Lounge. And Dale, I appreciate it. Enjoy your time here in Arizona. I think you're
Oh,
still here. Yeah.
yep, we're still here. We're still here. Yeah.
And again, thank you for agreeing to do this. I really
Well,
appreciate it.
and thank you, Donna, for doing this. It's really, really nice of you to have these interviews. So
All
thanks
right.
a lot. All
Take
right.
care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.